What's cracking, y'all? Hey, Creative Fam. So, this is like another episode of, I guess, life lately. So in the last video, I basically just talked about why I was choosing to step off of YouTube, to really figure out what the creative process was for nonprofit, and really just taking time to understand like the wisdom and the gems God has like dropped along the way. Because sometimes we be running, you feel me, you be going along your journey, and you just need time to sit after a checkpoint of some sort and be like, this is where we're at, this is what I've learned. And I felt like this was kind of that space where I could do that. But also sit with and understand the reason the work is needed, because a lot of times also I feel in creating certain things, like the reason for it may not be in the current timeline, if that makes sense. Like it may not be the product for this year, but like God put it on your heart to create it now because it's going to be needed in like 3 to 4 years, you know. And so understanding, I guess that was our journey in the nonprofit and in our experience and just the journey we've been on, and now coming to a point where we're in a space where now this type of product and the work that we're doing within the community makes sense. Shout out to time. But in that, I think like coming into the current timelines and like a little backstory on what today's conversation is going to be about is really like this full circle moment I'm having within really more so, I guess, an 8 to 10 year journey of, yeah, honey, what I've been on. So, because what? We're 2 years shy of it being 10 years of this journey. And of community work, understanding business, right? Understanding economics, creativity, and what I have summed it up all to is economics is all a mind game. Yeah. What I mean by that is the definition of economics, which we gonna pop up here, is the study of how a political system, or it's a basic, once again, social science. Let's start there. Economics is a social science, which, pop to social science definition, just is the study of people and how we behave. Which, if you have done research, if you haven't, and you want to understand the research process, it's really collecting a bunch of data, and based on researchers, data can be skewed versus not. So what that means is like all of these theories for how we handle money, how governmental systems are handling money, aren't based on facts. It's just based on assumptions. And so in research, there is a certain assumption that is set that kind of leads your work. And in economics, going to the definition, back to that, the assumption made and the premise of the models in econ you see of the graphs, and even theoretical concepts that we see in behavioral econ, come from this notion of scarcity. So how do these entities, governments, ecosystems behave and spread out resources that are limited and scarce? Now, this first looker moment that I'm having as an individual and being in the work is leading me to see that that is the issue with economics. Now, when I went to Spelman and studied econ, minor in Spanish, magna cum laude, so we know the type of like studying the girlie was getting into the work, right? Did econometrics, even did the coding portions. Yeah, love research down also. And even when I was starting econ, I would always get this question wrong. And this was the first question they asked on the test about, like, what's the definition of econ? And something in my mind just refused to be able to connect econ with, like, scarcity. Like, how in the world are we talking about business in a scarce mindset? And so I would always get it wrong on tests. And even now that I'm older, the reason it didn't click as a definition is because it doesn't make sense that we're starting the notion of abundance, right? And this notion of, like, expanding in terms of business, profit, X, Y, and Z, with the assumption and mindset of scarcity. That, like, there isn't enough to go around, that we need to figure out how to ration out limited resources. Now, I just challenge that thought because what if the assumption was abundance? What if the assumption was that we already have all that we need to make the things that we need to make and create the world that we would like to live in? We already possess and have all those skill sets, tools right now. And I think, especially being in the work of working with creative entrepreneurs, I think this timeline in this space, there's so many people that are like, I can show you how to digitalize this and get this. 75 days with me. Do this, and I can show you how to get money, make money, get you money. All the things about, and even bringing in the Bible into it and being like, and this is how you can get money. And it's like all of the sadly notes I feel to the creative community is like, this is how you can make money. Now, the caveat and the detriment that I feel like is in that is that it's the money push without contentment. And even down to a biblical note, like, that is the thing of, like, the desire is the greed, which capitalism really is that. So, but, like, also, you can't be a creative and not, you just can't not be, you can be in this world and not of it, but you still are in this world, so we're still going to have to deal with capitalism as a creative. So it's a notion of you have to go into it, you have to utilize its tools to create your purpose work because you live in this world, and specifically in the US, that's the system that's here. So it's how do I engage with it without losing myself, because the whole premise of capitalism is to idolize money and the pursuit and the consistent pursuit of it without any gratification. Like, enough is not enough, especially in American culture. It's always more, but that's capitalism. It's to conditionally get you to produce more and more because it's coming from a desperate, scarce mindset. And when you're coming from desperation, it's always thinking about more, and it's not reframing what's already around you. And so I've just been sitting in that and really thinking about that shift I see occurring, and how do we, like, one, take out this abundance kind of pursuit in terms of, like, the perspective of, like, the good money aspect, get money aspect, and more so abundance is gratitude. Abundance is exactly where I am right now. I'm grateful because, like, God woke me up, I have health, I can move my body, right? That's abundance. To think that, like, even though I'm in my current circumstances, I know God has more for me and plan. And I don't know what that more is, but it's never the desire, as especially in this type of work, it's never the desire to be like, I'm gonna make the most money in the world. No, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do, make how much ever I need to make, that God needs me to have to do the work. And now, of course, you can scale how much work you're doing and the impact that you're having on this earth, like impact. You can scale your impact, and then that requires more resources, right? Like, you need more people to help do more impact work. You need a bigger facility to do more impact work, or you need more funding. Whatever that is coming from a root of need, not from a desire. And I think that's what the thing I'm seeing now with abundance is like. I can have anything I desire. Like, not all the desires of the heart is good, but what God has for us is, so if I desire what God has for me, then it should and will be good. But like, if I'm going off of my own desires for like, this is why I want it, like, all of our intentions as humans are not pure for why we desire things. But if we're focusing on, man, whatever God has for me, I will have that. That's contentment, is that each day. That's also abundance, is that like, I already have everything that I need to, as a creative, execute on the work that I'm trying to do. Like, you don't need $1,000 camera. You got your phone. Like, start where you are. Like, God already gave you so much that we look past, especially in America, because it's so much push of more. But we have so many resources just at our fingertips. Most importantly, people that we can just reach out to in a drop of a heartbeat. That this idea of capitalism and creatives, you know, eagerly getting into it, ready to like figure out how to leave their mark and, you feel me, make money in the process. Like, the detriment is that you don't want it to be an endless rat race where you are never satisfied, because that's the goal of capitalism, because that's how you keep you in it, is that you're never satisfied. And we see it in our society today, I feel, where like it's starting to have its impact of never satisfied, because we have so many options. Like, even down to like dating, like, you can be like, that don't matter, I'm gonna go find me another one, because there's so many options. You got Tinder, you got all these places to find these different things, to find these different outfits, to find these new boom, that you don't even look to be like, well, what can I do with what I already have? How can I make something new? How can I go back to that old idea, because like, it wasn't bad, I just didn't have the resources to execute it out the way that I wanted to. How do I revisit that? Like, none of your ideas that you executed beforehand aren't still beautiful. Now that you're in the space that you're in, you can give it the more resources, you can give it the more time. Like, we don't need more and more things. We need to finish the things that we've already started and maximize on doing the best at what those things are. Specializations, become the best in it. You don't need more. You just need to become the best in what you're trying to do, which means just continuously iterating, continuously, right, trying to make something better, but not achieve more. You're just trying to get clearer and clearer and clearer to the vision that you were trying to create. And so that's like my life lately, is that I've just been really sitting on the impact these type of conversations are going to have on the creative community. Also, when you see people talking about, you could just go on ChatGPT and become a graphic designer and go to these small businesses and help, which is very predatory, I feel, on like both sides. Like, the small businesses may not even know what's required for the roles that you're saying that these people should just slip into and go say that they are. And on the other side of the creative side, it's removing the learning piece, where there's processes that go into being a graphic designer. There's processes that are learned and frameworks that are learned to go into these things. And I don't want also, with all this access, that we forget to do the work, because as we get into these higher timelines and spaces, yes, a lot of people will be able to get around, you know, like get away with this stuff for the next 5 years. But after people get on to realizing that people need to understand systems and actually like frameworks that can be duplicated and replicated, you would have had to learn. So I encourage everybody today to learn. You know, task of the day, like, go online and find a book that interests you and just like order it. And yeah, let's start going back into, as I mentioned in the last video, the references, resources, but you can't get resources and references unless we read. So that's where I just been with, is that we need to build discernment as a creative community um, around this mindset game of capitalism and how to engage with it in ways that are healthy and sustainable for us. But at the same time, just keep our eyes focused on what we are here to do. So I thank y'all for listening today. Come type back in like next week, or like, honestly, it's been a month since the first video and like the second one. I know it don't seem like that, but it really has. So yeah, see y'all next month. I love y'all.